Welcome to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Morgan Q. Anderson, author of Tax Debt Rule Number One. Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And I promise, even though we're talking about like a dry topic, it's going to be some fun.
Oh, yeah. I've worked in accounting marketing for the last 7 years. So to me, you could make accounting fun, right? Like there's a way to make accounting fun. It's just about the personality behind it. So I want to start with the book, and I want you to tell me why you wrote the book.
Well, I think part of it is just because when you say the word tax, people like automatically start getting goosebumps and anxiety, and it makes people kind of shut down, right? And when there's a situation with a tax debt, people are losing sleep at night. The
Mm.
anxieties heighten even more. It impacts their peace throughout the day. It impacts their families. It's so far-reaching and has such an impact on people that I really wanted to take the mystery away from having a tax debt and like, it's okay. No matter what the problem is, there's always a solution. Let me show you how that can be. And that's really where I started with this book.
Nice. So I have to say, like when I read it, I just think of tax. Like I'm just thinking like tax rules, right? Like so I'm not even
Right.
thinking about the debt side of it. So what does that mean? Like how do people have tax debt?
It happens in 1,000 different ways, but it could be something like a couple of years ago, they changed the W-4, what we all record with our employers that directs them on how much income tax you should have taken out of your paycheck, right? And a lot of people who were in middle class, even though they filled that form out the best way that they knew how, it still resulted in not enough income tax being withheld from their paycheck. And it sent a lot
Mm,
of people into a panic like, oh my gosh, I just filed my tax return. I've always claimed married filing joint. We have 2 kids, didn't do anything different, but I didn't have enough withheld. And so that's one simple way. Another way is inheritance. A lot of people get money from the death of a family member or a friend or whomever, and they don't think about the possible tax implications of that money. Like I had a client who was like, "Oh yeah, my mom passed away and I got a big check and I built pardon me, I built a new barn." And she's like, "I didn't even think about it." With businesses, boy, it's so sad. We see a lot of theft within
mm,
organizations, especially family-owned and managed businesses. We've seen a lot of impact from natural disasters. Even though you may have insurance money helping out, it doesn't cover it for the long term of how long your potential clients are impacted, which will impact how much they turn to you or your business for your services. So people will borrow money from the payroll tax funds just as like a band-aid to get them from one quarter to the next with the mindset of as soon as that next big contract comes in, I'll be able to get caught up. And they get behind and it just starts snowballing and things don't work out the way they intended. With sales tax, I've had a lot of clients come to me with sales tax laws that are not common sense. Like in the state of New York, the way they tax a bagel is 2 different ways. If it's split, it's taxed at one rate. If it's
what?
whole, they tax it at another, right? I had a client who was a plumber in the state of New York again, who didn't know that he had to charge sales tax on his actual labor. But who would think that a plumber would need to pay sales tax on their labor? You
Right.
just there's 1,000 different ways that people end up with a tax consequence. The good
Mm.
thing is, if you do end up with one, there's always a solution. You just need to figure out what will work best for you, for your circumstances, and your financial condition.
Got it. So, okay. It reminds me, the first example you gave, I remember years and years ago. a lot of years ago. I was like my first year working in a company where I can't remember what would have happened. I guess they must have been paying me as an independent contractor.
Okay.
And I think it was my second year working there because I think the first year we had filed our taxes through what's that one, like H&R Block or whatever, like one of those,
Jackson Hewitt, Liberty
yeah.
Tax, one of those. Yeah.
It was like one of those that you do online yourself, whatever. And so at the end of it, it had estimated our taxes for the next year and it had told us that. So then we paid our estimated taxes and thought we were all good, right? And then we
Yeah.
filed our taxes the next year and then we owed $7,000 in taxes, which to us at the time was like we didn't have $7,000 to pay. Like, and we
Right.
we borrowed money from family and paid it back. We were fine. Like, whatever. And then we learned, like, oh, okay, so don't trust whatever that tells you for estimated tax. Like, talk to somebody, a tax professional, who can tell you what you're supposed to pay. And then since then, it's been fine. But like that first year took us by surprise because we thought we were doing everything we were supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then that was not the case. This was like 20 years ago. Anyway, so like in that case, though, and you're probably talking about people with like way more significant debt, but like where's the debt then? Like, are you paying that debt to the government? Are you getting like how is that? Because I just thought I think when we had that situation, it was like this money is due on the state, right? So we just had to pay it.
Right. Right. Most people will file the return and just not pay the balance. So then it gets recorded by the tax agency, and the tax agency sends you a bill saying, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed this, but you owe us money." And then
Um,
the series of collection notices begin.
oh my gosh. Okay, so that's yeah, I didn't even know that was an option. It's like to
Yeah,
me, it's like this is due, you pay it, right? So we did. But yeah, that was not fun. And it's having surprises around your taxes is not fun.
it's
Um,
very, very stressful. You brought up a really good point as people who are self-employed, and this hits a lot of the gig workers, like the Uber Eats drivers, all the Lyft drivers. They don't understand how taxes work because they are paid as independent contractors,
right.
right?
Hmm.
So they have expenses that they can claim against that money, but they have to have all of those records ready to go to support anything they claim. So
Hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of finding a bookkeeper and then a tax professional that you can work with who's going to keep all of your records straight, right? And then get with them every quarter because as an independent contractor, if you're doing services for more than one company and you're growing how many hours a week you're being paid and you're increasing the amount you're being paid, you will hit growth points where a tax professional will be able to say, okay, let's look at what you did in quarter one of 2024 and what you did in quarter two, because then going into third quarter, we'll want to make sure and adjust what you're paying in estimated tax payments. Finding a good tax professional that you can have a quarterly relationship with, not just somebody you meet with at tax time, is so worth it. It's worth its weight in gold because they're going to be able to say, oh my gosh, you've had a lot of growth in the second quarter. We should probably increase your estimated tax payments, but we should also maybe start looking at, do we incorporate your business and put you on payroll? Like, what is that going to do for you for your distributions and how they're taxed? There are all kinds of tax strategies that, your CPA, your EA, your accountant, they can sit down and work with you on, and that just goes to benefit you.
Hmm.
Right? A
Yeah.
lot of people are like, oh, it's tax season. I got to get my records together. It's like, but if you worked with your tax professional throughout the year, they would have those records. It would be a
Hmm.
lot easier. And when you get with your tax professional, I'm so sorry. This started me on a soapbox.
No, I love it.
When you get with your tax professional in March and you say, okay, here's all my records, you're talking about a historical aspect of your financial condition at that point. You can't do anything to change, right?
Mm.
You can't have make any pivots at that point. Pardon me. You can't make any pivots at that point that will change the way you end up being taxed for the year
Mm.
because it's already happened. So it's really important when people are self-employed, when they're 1099, when they have a small business, it's so important to work directly with your tax professional at least quarterly.
Yeah, I think that's great advice and good for me to keep in mind too, as I'm only just a few months into my business. So remembering that, having that type of relationship is important and making sure
Yeah,
that I'm
it
planning
is.
for the future. I don't think we said your subtitle. So your title of your book is Tax Debt Rule Number One, but the subtitle is There's Always a Solution. So you work with
Correct.
people to help them. I would imagine that the people that you're working with are in panic mode, right? Like when they're coming to you.
Yes. Yes, they are.
And so you're helping them at that stage or at that point, like whatever's going on, find the solution that is best for them to get on the right track. And then do you also help them on a regular basis to like, are you that person then that's helping them plan going forward, or do you have people that you connect them with for that?
A little bit of both. A
Okay.
little bit of both. My area of specialty is really in dealing with the labyrinth of having a tax debt. How do we get from the client calling me and saying, okay, I've been sitting on this for a while. I don't know what to do. I need help, right? Okay, what is your situation? I owe 50,000 to the IRS. I've had clients who owe millions of dollars to the IRS in unpaid taxes, income tax, business tax, all of it. My goal is to take them from where they are at that point and get them to the other side of a solution with a solution. So a lot of that work in the beginning is compliance. Okay, what
Mm.
are your obligations? What do you have to owe to the IRS? What do you have to owe to the state if your state collects income tax? If it's a business, payroll taxes, how do we help you keep an eye on what that obligation is every month so you can draw a line in the sand and stop adding more debt onto what we know is already owed? So there is a
Mhm.
component of that, but a lot of that work we do with the client's tax professional because we're only a part of the team for a short period of time. If we're setting up monthly payments and asking for penalties to be abated, it could be 3 or 4 months that we're involved with a client. If we're petitioning to settle the debt, which is like its own board game, right? That you step onto, you're like, okay, we're going to be fully transparent. You go through a lot of back and forth with the IRS or the state. That can take 12 to 16 months to get through. Whatever the resolution strategy is that we put in place, we're only there for that time frame. And we want to make sure that the client knows at the end of our involvement everything they have to do to prevent the problem from happening again. And the same
Mhm.
thing with their tax professional. Like we help kind of marry them together even more so that they're working in more of a collaborative way to prevent the problem from happening ever again in the future. I mean, we're always
Mhm.
there. We're always there to help. We're happy to do it, but once we send a client on their way, we're just like, okay, bye. We're here, but we hope to never hear from you again. As
Yeah,
silly
yeah,
as that sounds, but
yeah,
when we fix a problem for a client, we want it to be a permanent solution and they're educated with everything they need to know so they never have a problem again.
yeah, yeah. No, that's great. So what led you to want to write this book?
Oh, I, I don't know. It was a wild hair. People had suggested, I've been doing this for 25 years, right? And the stories that I could tell could fill volumes, both from dealing with clients, dealing with the tax agencies, outrageous stories, you know. But I wanted to give anybody who has a tax debt something they could hold in their hand and start seeing that it's not hopeless, that the IRS and the state, even though there's a debt owed, they don't deserve more power than they actually have.
Hmm.
Yes, it's a problem. Yes, it's something that can be stressful until you start taking action and working towards the solution. But once you do, you can compartmentalize a little bit more. Like, just because you have a tax debt owed to the IRS, it doesn't mean that your life's over, you know? It shouldn't be robbing you of most of your peace in life. Yes, it's a debt. You need to deal with it. Like anything else, we're adults. We have things we have to deal with that we don't want to. But the first story I share in the book, it was a friend's dad had taken his life over losing
Oh.
all of their money on Black Monday. And then I guess it was about a year later, the IRS came knocking and he committed suicide. It was like that final straw that did it to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had been working in the tax industry for maybe 6 months at that time. And she was asking me how I liked it. I said, wow, I feel like I found something that I can really invest all of me into. It felt really good because I'm a problem solver. I get to take people by the hand and really walk them through one of the most stressful, dang situations they're going to have in their life. And I love being able to help bring them to light through it.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, okay, well, I'm happy to hear it. Can I share something with you that's pretty personal? And she told me about her dad. And it was like a newfound inspiration to try to reach as many people as I can to say, yes, it's a problem. Yes, it needs to be handled, but there's always a solution. You just need
Mm-hmm.
to ask someone for help. So, sorry,
Yeah.
I started getting goosebumps. I
I
always
did
do.
too when you said that. Well, I mean, and hearing that story and then reading your subtitle, there's always a solution. Always is in all caps. There's always a solution. It
Yeah,
feels, I mean, like I told that story that, when we were, whatever, when we had that $7,000 bill, we were just like, oh my gosh. And it feels like it feels overwhelming. And you're
right.
like, where am I, and luckily we had parents who, were supportive and able to help us. And but if we didn't have that, and I don't remember anyone presenting any options like, oh, just don't pay it and then you'll get stuff in the mail, or like, I don't remember any other
Yeah,
solutions being presented other than like, I don't know, you owe this in 3 weeks or whatever it was, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like,
right.
and when you're, especially in our case at the time, or I guess when you're older, let me separate those thoughts. So at our place at the time, we were young and we didn't have a lot of resources, right? Like, and
Right.
so, now it's like, well, you could take money out of the house, you could do that. Like, there's ways that you can get money, right? But also, people who are older may have other debts that, they may have other things like com compounding, right? And
Right.
the dad in that situation probably had a lot of stuff going on, and but it feels so, money stuff just feels so overwhelming. And yeah, so like I got goosebumps too, because I was just like, yeah, like there, if that person had had you at the time, or had had somebody who was a problem solver who was like, look, it's not the end of the world, like 5 years
Right.
from now or 10 years from now, you're going to look back, it's all been taken care of, you just have to do, take the steps now to solve the problem and you'll get through
Yeah,
it. But
exactly. Well,
yeah.
I heard this perspective a couple of weeks ago and I really liked it. It was like, name one problem in your life that you didn't get past.
Great.
And as big as the problem seemed in the moment, we've all gotten past slews, just hundreds, thousands of them in our lifetime. And yeah, the
Right.
debt owed to the tax agencies causes so much anxiety. And I'm here to tell you, like, don't give it that power, right?
Yeah.
It's a bill. We need to be proactive in handling it, but don't give it more power than it really deserves.
Yeah. 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 Because
Yeah.
you'll get through it and you'll look
It,
back and you'll go, oh, like that was a time.
that that
That was a,
sucked.
yeah,
I
that
can be
sucked.
blunt. That sucked. But
Yeah.
you know what? You'll get to the other side of it. The people who do not, who kind of wallow in the debt and ignore it I call it ostrich syndrome. They bury their head in the sand, and if I don't think about it, if I don't look at it, if I don't open the next bill and I just put it in the back of my desk drawer and just leave it there, then it's not a problem that I need to handle. The problem with that is the penalties and interest just keep accruing.
Hmm.
And before you know it, what was a $25,000 debt is now 40,000. And that's where it's like, don't hide from it. Don't become an ostrich and bury your head in the sand. Know that there's ways to handle it, but you have to be proactive. You have to take that first
Hmm.
step.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sounds like your book is a great resource for anyone dealing with that situation, either having tax debt or if they know somebody in that situation, it's a great book to share with friends and family who may be experiencing things like that too. So I think it's great that you put that book out there into the world and that you're helping people with that. And what a great
Thank
story.
you.
Well, so Morgan, we'll share a link to your book in the show
Okay.
notes, but is there any other way that listeners can get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, find you
Yeah,
online?
absolutely. We're all over social media, LinkedIn and Facebook. You can just look me up or look up the company, Golden Lion Tax Solutions. We have a really nice website. You can go through and see all testimonials from clients, and we just released a masterclass for people who shouldn't hire a tax debt expert to get involved because their debt isn't over 25,000 of income tax. If you don't know more than that, you should handle it yourself. And we have a fantastic masterclass that walks you through every step of that process. We also have copies of like your podcast will be up on my website, but some others and just on different topics. I have a huge blog library if you want to know about innocent spouse or tax liens and how they impact you. We have all kinds of resources on our website.
Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for coming on and sharing your book and your story with us.
You bet. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Kelly.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com.